Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening to this at. Thank you for joining us today. We're sitting here talking with Dr. Pat Yoder about some natural things in your body and things you can do to help improve your life. Dr. Pat, I understand you just recently wrote a book. What's the name of that book?
It's called the five major stressors to your health.
What do you mean there are major stressors? You mean like kids and family?
That could be one of them. But what we're talking about in this book is the chemicals that go into our body, heavy metals that could be affecting us, mold, scar tissue, different foods like GMOs, foods that have preservatives in them.
So if nobody listens more than a minute here, what's one or two things you can tell them to avoid, say in the grocery store right now? What's the top two or three things that you can avoid so that you don't cause inflammation and cause yourself any more harm?
Well, you have to read the back of the labels, and I think one of the top ones is high fructose corn syrup. That's very inflammatory in the body. Anything with a lot of sugar, GMOs, and you have to be careful with the different fruit that you eat. There's no seeds in there. It's guaranteed it's a GMO, genetically modified food.
So even though a vegetable or a fruit you think is going to be good for you, it could be bad for you because it's sprayed with chemicals.
Yes.
Well, how do you know what to look for on vegetables to avoid that?
I think the best place, if you can, would be get organic for sure. And then if you can go to your local flea market where they sell local vegetables to your area without pesticides. So I know that some of the grocery stores, when they're spraying the water out of that's really spraying pesticides on the fruit to keep it fresh.
Oh, wow. And everyone thinks that it's just a freshening agent or just water and keep it clean and crisp, and here they're polluting you in a way.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What else do you talk about in the book that is detrimental to your health that we should avoid these days?
Well, one of the main things that I've seen a lot of people lately is mold. In Florida, I know we have a lot of mold, and they come in with different problems like sinus infections, or they come in with a cold or bacteria. They just don't feel good. I had one lady come in with a lot of ear infections, and when I did the test kit on her, I found she had mold. And so she said she didn't know where it was, but she had a house inspector come out, and she had mold all throughout her house, and they had to get rid of it. So it could be, you can get it from different places. I had a lady come in last week, and she had a sinus infection, and I checked her, found out she had mold in her body, and she came in last week and told me that under the sink there was a leak. Anyway, when the plumber took everything out, there was all this black mold in there. And so she found it so they can get rid of it. Now she's feeling much better.
So I'm sort of new to Florida. We're here 11 years, going on 12. Is it good to keep your windows open like on a nice day like today that's 50, 60, 70 degrees, or is that contributing to the mold?
Well, I guess it depends on your yard and your environment. But I would think fresh air would be fine. But if you have a lot of trees on your property that has oak trees, seems like they have a lot of mold on them.
And we have a neighbor that insists on not running their air conditioner unless it's above 90 and it's insanely hot in their house all the time. Is that a good thing?
I don't think it would be. All that stale air, you need circulation and keep the air fresh and moving.
Right, and causing mold, and that causes more mold inside the house.
I would think so, yes.
Wow, that's crazy. What else from the grocery store? I've been reading a lot lately. It says a lot of different oils to avoid. Used to be they said, cottonseed oil and grapeseed oil was a good thing to use. Now I hear that's a bad thing. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would stay away from the seed oils and try to use more of the olive oil. I like avocado oil and coconut oil.
You can cook with both of those and get them readily just like in a liquid form. And
Yes, coconut oil is excellent, and coconut oil is good for our brain too. They say that coconut oil would be excellent for help preventing dementia and Alzheimer's because we need fat in our brain. So that's what I would.
So speaking of Alzheimer's, I recently read an article that said that we actually need cholesterol in our body to avoid getting Alzheimer's and memory issues, and that the regular traditional medicine doctors want to keep you low so they can put you on a medicine. What's your thoughts on like what's a good cholesterol number to have in your when you go have your your blood work done?
Well, I personally have always had high cholesterol, and I'm not a big person. Even when I was like in my early 20s, I was working at a pathologist's office and they took her blood, and my cholesterol was 222. And of course, well, back then they said our cholesterol could be up to 300. That's how much they've lowered it now. They say it has to be under 200. And I think it's because they want to put everyone on Lipitor. And Lipitor can cause dementia and Alzheimer's, so plus other side effects. So I think it depends on your HDL, that's a good cholesterol, and the LDA, that's a bad cholesterol. So you want to have the good outweighing the bad. But mine's always been high, and that's hereditary, and for me, I think it's normal. And even like with people that have seizures, they need more fat in their brain, and that's why they give them a high-fat diet, because that's cholesterol, to keep them from having seizures.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in my late 50s here, and I don't want to ever get into Alzheimer's or dementia and things like that. It just seems like it's a terrible disease to live with, and I guess one way of avoiding that is to not listen to traditional doctors and keep my cholesterol in a decent level in the 200s to no more than 300. Right?
I would recommend that.
Right. So what else do you talk about in your book about, you had mentioned inflammation. What causes inflammation?
Well, any of the heavy metals you take in, if you have a heavy metal, that can cause inflammation. Or if you eat too much sugar, sugar can cause inflammation in the body. And that's, there's so many different side effects with sugar. 124, as a matter of fact. It can cause all kinds of terrible things in the body. And they say that it's worse than trying to get off cocaine, the sugar habit. But what I found out is if you take L-glutamine, it's a supplement. It's very inexpensive. You can take 500 grams 3 times a day, and that helps sugar cravings. It tricks your brain into thinking they have sugar, and it fills that craving. So if you're trying to get off sugar, you may think about that, or inositol is another one.
Well, but sugar's in everything. I mean, for a while there, we were watching and trying to get natural toothpaste. Almost all toothpaste has sugar in it. I mean, there's so few things in the world that seem like it doesn't have sugar in it. What else? You were mentioning heavy metals. What are heavy metals? We don't have any heavy factories around here anymore. Is that what you're talking about on heavy metals?
Well, you can get heavy metals from mercury. You can get like mercury from eating too much tuna fish or swordfish.
Once again, eating healthy leads to complications, huh?
It does. I think we have to have a balance.
Okay.
I'll tell you a story about my secretary. Well, she worked with me in my office, and this girl was obese. She probably weighed 400 pounds. And we did the nutrition response testing. And this book is based off of nutrition response testing, where you find out where the problem lies in the body. You check all the organs, and you see which. So this lady, her thyroid was not working properly. And she didn't even eat that much. And you thought we would think she would eat a lot. But she really didn't, and she ate healthy. But she couldn't lose weight no matter what she tried. So anyway, we did the nutrition response testing on her. We found that she had mercury in her thyroid. It was stuck in there. I don't know where she got it from. You can get it from maybe she got it from a dental amalgam. It's hard to say where she got it. Maybe the chemtrails up there, or a flu shot, or it's hard to say because all those shots have mercury and arsenic and different poisons in them. And I talk about that in my book too, about the different ingredients in the flu shot. So we detoxed her from the heavy metal out of her thyroid, and now she probably weighs 180 pounds.
Wow. So how do you get into that? How do you do that testing? And you can do that right in your office?
Yes, I do that a lot. And first what you do is with applied kinesiology, which is muscle testing. And you have the patient lay down, and then you have to make sure they're not blocked or switched first. And then if they're blocked, that means they're not open. And then if they're switched, that means they're not neurologically confused. And their body goes, one day they feel good, the next day not good. So something could be causing them to be switched or blocked. So you would have to find out what that would be. And I could find that out through the muscle testing. And so you find out what supplement corrects that problem. And then you check all the organs to make sure they're functioning optimum. And then you find out, then I have all these test kits, and I can put them on their body to see what's in their body. And then we figure out the supplement to help pull it out. And then in the book, it shows where they come from and the different symptoms that can come from them. That's why I wrote the book.
Well, so you don't necessarily need to go and have a blood work done, and you're not looking like a traditional doctor of blood work. You're actually just testing the body and seeing how it reacts. And that's how you determine
Yeah, the
that
test.
she had the poisoning or that she had the heavy chemicals in her thyroid?
Yes. And then I had another man come in. This is several years ago, and I didn't know what he did for a living. I just did the exam on him. I have a lady that took care of that. So I did the exam, and he was lethargic. He was only in his 40s, and he didn't have any energy. And so I did the exam on him, and I found out he had carbon monoxide in his body. And then I found out where it was, and we gave him some stuff to pull it out. And then we found out later that, well, he was a truck driver, and his truck had a leak, and it was in his truck. And so he had to sell his truck.
Wow.
So it's very interesting how it seems always pretty much coming
That
to fruition.
your body absorbs these things, and little things you think you're driving by a truck on the side of the road and you smell them with bad diesel, we should probably be covering up our face so we're not breathing it in and things like that, right?
Yeah, so like a lot of golf courses, they have a lot of pesticides. So I see a lot of people come in with pesticides. So if you live in a development where they're going to spray your property, so you're absorbing it because it goes right through your skin. Because your skin's your largest organ, and when the pores are open, everything can just go in there, and then it can affect us.
So that's why I see those little signs on the grass that say the yard was just sprayed. Don't walk your dog through here for 24 hours or something like that, so you're going to get it on you, or walk through it barefoot, things like that. Well, what else do you cover in the book? And first of all, how can people get this book if they're interested in learning more?
They can download it on Amazon, I believe, and Barnes & Noble.
Okay.
They have an ebook.
What's the title of the book, and spell and tell them your name and information and what you do as part of that, okay?
The 5 Major Stressors to Your Body. My name is Patricia Yoder. Discovering the Source of the Hidden Toxins Reference Guide for Optimal Health.
And what's some of your background now? How do you know about all these things?
Well, I've been a chiropractor for 35 years in the holistic field, and I've had over 11 years of college, and I keep going back to school to learn these different techniques, and I kind of put them all together.
Are you a naturopathic doctor?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Do you have to have a degree for all that, or is it just that what you study and understand the naturopathic? I don't know how that part works.
Well, I have a chiropractic degree, so under my chiropractic license,
okay,
nutrition is under that.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't have to get a separate license or anything.
Okay. So what else, other subjects you talk about in the book that we could, because there's a thousand things there in the news lately about grocery stores. We were talking before we started recording here. What did we say about the grocery stores? About the outside perimeter or something like that?
The best thing to do when you go to a grocery store is walk on the outside of the store where the produce is and the eggs and the
the produce they're spraying with chemicals?
Yeah.
But I get it. I'm sorry. Had to throw that in there.
We have to be so careful what we're ingesting in our body. And certain people are allergic to different foods also. So that's one way I can help them too, is I put the test kit on them. I can find out if they're allergic to corn or wheat or any kind of fruit, strawberries. It doesn't really matter what it is.
Used to be growing up, you think corn was a good thing and couldn't wait for summer to come and get corn on the cob. Here, I just realized it was just really just eating a cob of sugar, I guess.
Well, plus it's GMO now. Most corn is GMO, genetically modified, so your body doesn't know how to process that food.
Wow, so actually corn's bad for you.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
And it's almost in everything too, just like sugar. It's hard to avoid it. So I think the goal would be for all of us is just to minimize those things as much as possible. You're not going to be perfect at it.
Yeah, I guess you have to start reading labels more, right?
Yes.
Things like that. We often watch this gentleman on YouTube that talks about specials at different stores, big box stores. And when he flips over the packaging that talk about it, we see this list of ingredients that's half the length of the box. And me and my wife just sit there and laugh and talk to each other and say, look at that list of ingredients. How is that good for you? Or cheesecake that's been sitting in the big box store. I won't say it starts with a C. And they've been sitting there on the shelf on a big pallet for 3 months before Christmas. How can that be good for you?
Yeah, you know, if a bug won't eat it, why would you eat it?
So the best thing to do is do a lot of your own baking and cooking. And what about animals? Do you do anything with the animals and on the holistic side of things? Because animals can get sick from all this stuff too, right?
Yes, I've treated animals, dogs and cats, but I haven't really treated them for heavy metals. I believe it or not, I treat them for emotional work, and that's a lot of fun.
Emotional work in animals? Wow, I never heard of that. Holy cow.
You can purchase a paperback, hardcover, or Kindle version. Buy Dr. Pat's book on Amazon. Thank you for joining us today.